My wife cheated with my best friend, and now she's claiming half of our $1.2 million house. And I just found out she's been secretly draining our joint account of $50, $0 a month to fund her new life. I never thought I'd be the guy posting something like this, but here I am. My wife seemed perfect, beautiful, smart, ambitious. We had a big house, a fancy life, and I thought we had it all. But then, out of nowhere, everything started unraveling. The signs were small at first. She was more secretive with her phone, disappearing for hours, brushing off my questions with that bitchy smile of hers. I figured she was just stressed, maybe working late or dealing with some personal stuff. But I was wrong. Dead wrong. One night I decided to do a little digging. I'd always trusted she was the love of my life. But I'd been noticing weird things lately. Her phone buzzing constantly, her getting defensive when I'd ask about her whereabouts. I started snooping around, nothing invasive, just enough to satisfy my gut feeling that something was off. That's when I found the emails. Not just one or two, but hundreds, hidden in a folder titled Work that I'd never seen before. They were from a guy named Jake, my best friend, by the way. The emails were flirty, suggestive, and some downright explicit. They talked about meeting up, sneaking around, and even plans for a trip, just the two of them. I felt my stomach drop. My mind was racing. How could she do this? With Jake, of all people, my best friend, I couldn't believe it. I'd always trusted him too. I remember the day I found the emails like it was yesterday. I was just trying to check her phone, maybe find some proof of her lying about something minor. Instead, I saw those messages. They were so blatant, so obvious I couldn't ignore them. She'd been lying to my face for months. And the worst part, she'd been sneaking around, draining our joint account of $50, $0 a month to fund her new life with Jake. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, so I kept reading. There were plans for trips, expensive dinners, hotel stays. She was living a double life and I had no idea. I felt betrayed, humiliated like I'd been punched in the gut. How could she do this to me, to us? I sat there, stunned, trying to process what I'd just discovered. It was like my entire world was crashing down around me. The house, the life we built, everything felt like a lie. And what made it worse? She still acted like everything was fine, like I was overreacting. When I confronted her the next day, she just lied through her teeth, said I was being paranoid, that Jake was just a friend, and that I was imagining things. But I knew better. I could see the guilt behind her eyes, the way she avoided my gaze when I asked about the emails. She kept denying everything, calling me crazy, accusing me of spying on her. I felt a boiling rage inside, knowing she'd been cheating, stealing from us, and lying to my face. It was like I'd been hit by a truck. I'd trusted her with everything, my heart, my money, my life, and she'd thrown it all away for some guy who was supposed to be my friend. That's when I knew I had to do something. I couldn't just sit back and let her keep draining us, lying, cheating, and pretending everything was fine. I needed a plan. I needed to fight back. After that confrontation, I felt numb but determined. I couldn't let her keep screwing me over like this, draining our savings, throwing away our future, and lying to my face. I started digging into the bank statements, the joint account, everything I could find. It didn't take long to see the pattern: 50, 0 a month disappearing without explanation. It was like she was funneling money into some secret account, probably to fund her new life with Jake. I was furious. How could she be so reckless, so selfish? I decided I needed proof, concrete evidence, before I did anything drastic. So I hired a private investigator. I know it sounds crazy, but I needed to see what she was really up to. Within days, I had a report showing her meeting Jake at fancy hotels, shopping sprees, even private dinners. She was living the life she'd always pretended she didn't want. It was worse than I thought. She was completely committed to this affair, and she was spending our money like it was nothing. Meanwhile, she kept up the act at home. She'd come home late with that fake innocent face, acting like everything was normal. But I could see through her. The way she avoided my eyes, the way she brushed off my questions, I knew she was hiding something big. I started recording our conversations, just in case I needed to prove her lies. I also began secretly installing cameras around the house, not to spy on her, but to catch her in the act if she slipped up again. The feeling of betrayal was eating me alive, but I knew I had to stay calm and plan my next move carefully. One night, I caught her trying to sneak out with a suitcase. I followed her outside, and she almost got into a cab. That was the moment I knew I couldn't let her walk away with everything. I confronted her right then and there in the driveway. Her reaction was priceless. She tried to deny everything, said I was paranoid, that Jake was just a friend. But I had the evidence. The emails, the bank statements, the hotel receipts. I laid it all out for her. Her face twisted into a sneer, and she spat out that I was overreacting, that she loved me but needed more in her life. That's when I saw the real bitch behind her mask, cold, calculating, completely unrepentant. I felt a mix of rage and sadness. Rage because she'd betrayed everything we built, and sadness because I still loved her, or at least I thought I did. But I couldn't ignore what I'd uncovered. This wasn't just a fling, it was a full-blown betrayal on every level. I realized I had to act fast before she drained us completely. I started looking into legal options: divorce, claiming half of the house, seizing her assets. She was claiming she deserved half of our $1.2 million house, and I knew I'd have to fight her for it. I also discovered she'd been secretly draining our account for months, and I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach all over again. How could she be so manipulative, so ruthless? The worst part, I was devastated, but I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I couldn't let her get away with this. I had to make her pay somehow. I started planning my revenge, not just financially but emotionally. I wanted her to realize what she'd lost me, our life, everything. I knew I couldn't trust her anymore, and I didn't want to. I was sick of being the fool, the sucker who believed in fairy tales. Now I was ready to fight dirty if I had to protect what was left of my dignity and my money. I just didn't know how far she'd go or what she'd do next. All I knew was I wasn't going down without a fight. The more I dug into her financials, the angrier I got. I couldn't believe she'd been draining our account like some kind of cash cow for her new life with Jake. 50 grand a month. That's more than enough to live comfortably, but she was blowing it all on trips, designer clothes, and who knows what else. I felt betrayed not just emotionally, but on a fundamental level. I had trusted her with everything, and she'd been secretly stealing from us while pretending to be the perfect wife. I knew I had to do something drastic. I started consulting with a divorce attorney, knowing it wouldn't be simple. She was claiming half the house, our house, the one we'd built together, and I realized I'd have to fight her for it. I also found out about a hidden account she'd set up, one she'd been funneling money into without my knowledge. That was the final straw. I was furious, but I also knew I had to stay smart. I couldn't let her see how much I was hurting or how badly I wanted revenge. I had to play it cool, gather all the evidence, and make my move carefully. One night, I got a tip from my pie that she was planning to meet Jake again. I decided to set up a trap. I installed some hidden cameras in the house. Nothing invasive, just enough to catch her in the act if she slipped up. The night came, and sure enough, I caught her sneaking out again, this time with a packed bag. I watched her get into a car with Jake, parked down the street. It was clear she was planning to leave for good. I was overwhelmed with a mix of anger, heartbreak, and a strange sense of relief that I finally had proof. I recorded everything, knowing it would be crucial in court or for any legal action I might pursue. The next day, I confronted her again. This time, I laid everything out: her emails, the bank statements, the hotel receipts, the secret account, and the videos. Her face twisted into rage. She tried to deny everything, claiming I was crazy, that I was paranoid. She accused me of spying on her, of being jealous, of not trusting her. But I had the evidence, and I wasn't going to back down. I told her I was filing for divorce, that I was going to fight for my rights and for what was mine. I told her she'd have to answer for her lies and her betrayal. Honestly, I felt a little relief after that confrontation. I'd been carrying this secret pain for weeks, and finally I'd taken control. But underneath, I was still devastated. The woman I loved, the woman I married, had turned into a stranger, and she was still trying to lie her way out of it, insisting she was innocent, that everything was just a misunderstanding. I knew better. I knew she'd been lying from the start, and I wasn't going to let her manipulate her way out of this. I had the proof, and I was prepared to fight for every penny, every inch of that house and my dignity. The thing is, I'd always thought I was the stable, dependable one in this relationship. Turns out I was the fool. She played me for months, draining our savings, cheating on me, lying through her teeth. But now I was done. I wasn't just going to walk away and let her take everything. No, I was planning my comeback. I wanted her to see that I wasn't some pushover. I was going to make her regret ever crossing me. I had to figure out the next steps, how to legally claim my share, how to make her pay for her betrayal, and how to rebuild my life from this mess. The anger kept boiling inside me, but I knew I had to keep my head clear. This wasn't over yet, not even close. After I gathered all the evidence and confronted again, I realized I had to act fast. She was planning to leave, and I couldn't let her walk away with everything, especially not after everything she'd done. I started talking to my lawyer about the divorce, but I also knew I needed to do more. Was claiming she deserved half of the house, which was worth over $1 million. I had to find a way to protect my assets and make sure she didn't get away with draining us dry. The first thing I did was freeze all her accounts. She'd been funneling money into that secret account, and I wanted to cut her off. I also hired a financial forensic expert to trace every dollar she'd taken, to ensure I had a solid case. Meanwhile, I began preparing for a legal battle over the house. I knew she'd try to claim half of everything, but I had my own proof of her secret accounts, her affair, and her lies. I wanted to make sure she couldn't walk away with a dime more than what was fair. One night, I caught her trying to pack her bags again. This time, I blocked her from leaving. I told her she wasn't going anywhere until we sorted this out legally. Her face twisted in rage, but I didn't care. I was done being played. I told her if she wanted to leave, she'd have to go through the courts, and I'd fight her for every cent. That's when she started crying, claiming she loved me, that she'd changed, that she'd never cheat again. It was all lies, I knew that now. She'd been lying from the start, and I wasn't going to fall for it anymore. I also began digging into her phone and emails more aggressively. I wanted to find out if she'd been hiding anything else, maybe more secret accounts or hidden assets. Sure enough, I found a bunch of encrypted emails and messages that she'd tried to delete. I had a tech guy recover everything, and what I saw confirmed everything I already suspected. She'd been planning her escape for months, draining our money, lying every step of the way. I felt a deep sense of betrayal, but also a strange clarity. I was finally taking control. The legal process was a nightmare. Hired her own lawyer, and she tried to claim she was entitled to half the house because we'd been married for 10 years. But I had a solid case. I argued she'd been living a double life, secretly draining our account, cheating on me with Jake, and trying to leave me high and dry. I presented all my evidence, and I could see her confidence slipping away. She started to realize she might not get everything she wanted. I was determined to fight for my fair share, for the house, and for my dignity. Meanwhile, I was also secretly planning how to make her pay for the betrayal. I wanted her to see what she'd lost, the trust, the respect, the life she threw away. I wasn't just after money. I wanted her to understand that she'd crossed a line she couldn't come back from. I started leaking some of the evidence to her friends and family, letting them see the real her. I wanted her to feel the heat, to understand that her actions had consequences. It was a calculated move, but I knew I had to make her realize she couldn't manipulate her way out of this. Throughout all of this, I stayed calm, collected. Inside, I was a mess, hurt, angry, betrayed, but I kept my composure. I knew I had to be smart, strategic. I wasn't going to let her destroy me financially or emotionally. I'd fought for everything I had, and I wasn't about to let her take it all. This was just the beginning of my revenge, and I was determined to see it through. I didn't care how long it took. I was going to make sure she paid for every lie, every betrayal, every dollar she stole. And when all was said and done, I'd come out the winner. The court hearings dragged on for months, but I kept pushing forward. Every day, I felt the weight of her lies and betrayal pressing down on me, but I refused to back down. Was trying every trick in the book, claiming she was entitled to half the house because of our marriage, claiming I was unjustly accusing her of everything. But I had the evidence, and I was ready to fight for my rights. The secret accounts, the hotel receipts, the emails, everything painted a clear picture of her scheme. I knew she was trying to manipulate the court, but I had the truth on my side. I also took steps to protect what was legally mine. I filed for a division of assets, making sure I retained the house and the bulk of our savings. I knew she'd try to claim that I was controlling or that I was trying to cheat her out of her rightful share, but I had witnesses and proof. To counter that, I even brought in a forensic accountant to testify about the money she drained from our joint accounts. Her lawyer tried to discredit me, but it was clear she was desperate. Her lies kept unraveling under the weight of the evidence. Meanwhile, I was slowly rebuilding my emotional state. I didn't want to be that broken man, but honestly, I was shattered. The woman I loved had turned into someone I barely recognized, a manipulative, selfish cheater. Every time I saw her in court trying to spin her stories, I felt a mix of rage and pity. She thought she could get away with everything, but I was determined to make her pay financially and emotionally. I wasn't just fighting for the house or the money, I was fighting to reclaim my dignity. One day I caught her trying to secretly meet with Jake again. I had cameras set up and I caught her sneaking out late at night. That was the final straw. I played the footage in court and her lawyer couldn't deny it. That proved she was still lying, still scheming. I knew then that I had to push harder to make sure she paid the full price for her betrayal. I wasn't just after a divorce. I wanted her to feel the consequences of her actions. Finally, after months of legal battles, the judge ruled in my favor. I was awarded the house and was ordered to pay back the stolen money, along with a hefty settlement for emotional damages. She was furious, of course, but she had no choice. Her lies had been exposed, her scheming thwarted. Watching her walk away, I felt a strange mix of relief and emptiness. I had won, but at what cost? I'd lost the woman I thought I knew, and I'd been betrayed in ways I never imagined. Now I'm trying to piece my life back together. I've sold the house, paid off what I owed, and moved into a small apartment. It's not much, but it's mine. I still think about her sometimes, about what could have been, about the trust I lost. But mostly I think about how I fought back, how I refused to let her destroy me. I learned that trust is fragile, and that some people are just willing to lie, cheat, and steal their way through life. If I could give any advice to someone in my situation, it's this: trust your instincts, gather evidence early, and don't be afraid to fight for what's yours. People don't change, and they don't deserve your forgiveness. Protect yourself, your money, and your sanity. Because at the end of the day, the only person who truly has your back is yourself. And no matter how much it hurts, sometimes the best revenge is simply walking away and rebuilding from the ashes. Looking back, I never thought I'd get to this point. I used to believe in happily ever after and the idea that marriage meant trust and loyalty, but shattered all that in an instant. What hurt the most wasn't just the affair or the money she stole, but the fact that I thought I knew her, thought I knew us. Turns out, she was just playing a role, pretending to be the perfect wife while secretly planning her escape with my best friend Jake. The entire ordeal changed me. It's like I lost a part of myself, but I also found a new strength I didn't know I had. I learned how to stand up for myself, how to fight for what I deserve, even when it feels like the world is crashing down around you. The betrayal forced me to confront a lot: trust issues, my own naivety, and the painful reality that sometimes people will do anything for their own selfish gain. Now, I live with the scars, but also a clearer understanding of what I want out of life. I don't carry the bitterness that once threatened to consume me. Instead, I use it as fuel to move forward. I've started over in a new place, focusing on rebuilding my finances and my sense of self. I don't know if I'll ever fully trust again, but I do know I'll never let myself be like that again. This experience taught me that sometimes you have to lose everything to realize what truly matters: your integrity, your boundaries, your peace of mind. Actions showed me how dangerous and selfish some people can be, but they also showed me my own resilience. I realized that no matter how dark things seem, there's always a way out, a way to rebuild. So, if there's one thing I want anyone reading this to take away, it's this: don't ignore your gut When something feels off, investigate. Trust is earned, not given freely. And if someone crosses that line, whether it's cheating, stealing, or lying, stand up for yourself. Fight for what's yours, walk away if you have to, and never let anyone make you feel small. Because in the end, the only person responsible for your happiness and your safety is you. And I can tell you from experience, standing tall and reclaiming your life is the best revenge of all.